the first time my team shared with me the demo results from the Gold Reaper and the other EAs is that they were not using grid Martingale. And then when I investigated further, I saw that actually you're not using grid Martingale in any of portfolios. So how do you succeed in building so many different EAs without putting any grid or Martingale?
After many years of trial and error, I found a few strategies that seem to work well. Since then, I've been building on those and fine-tuning them. And most of my systems are basically built on a very simple idea of breakout strategies.
Wim, the vendor of Gold Reaper and more non-grid EAs.
So we have 5 portfolio setups. The first one is with the Gold Reaper, Luna AI, and Gold Trade Pro. Is that a live account that is running these EAs?
Yes. I don't run demo accounts, to be honest.
And it makes 7% average a month.
So far, yes.
Does it have lower risk on each EA?
Yeah, so when I run portfolios, one of the things that I think is important is that you don't just run each EA with full-on risk that you normally run it on individual accounts. So you balance the EAs so that the risk is a bit spread, which I did, which I have the set files for as well, so that you don't blow the account by over leveraging each EA.
All right, so if I get all of your EAs from the bundle, do I receive as well set files to replicate these portfolios?
Yes, if requested, I have all the set files and setups for these portfolios ready to go already, because I know some clients would like to start with something like this.
Your type of EAs, these breakouts that do not use grid Martingale, are actually the only type of EAs that are suitable for scaling.
So I quit my job because I wanted to push myself to go all in on this idea of creating profitable robots.
Hey Wim, welcome to my podcast.
Petko, nice to meet you.
It's a huge pleasure to finally have you on the podcast because I've been trading your EAs for quite a while now. And to be honest, I like one of them a lot. And it's the first EA to trust where I deposited another 5K total of 10K live account. And I really want to know more about it. And I'm sure that this podcast will be very interesting for our subscribers. So with a few words for the people who haven't heard of Wim, haven't heard of the Gold Reaper or the Gold Trade Pro, who are you and how did you start with Algo Trading?
My name is Wim Schrynemakers. I'm the creator of Gold Reaper and many other EAs. I'm a trader, obviously, for about 20 years, a bit more even. Algo trader for the last 15 years, probably. I create my own EAs. I trade mostly only my own EAs. I had many top-ranked EAs on MQL5. I started a company as a business doing this EA thing. A few years ago, it's just me and my laptop, basically, that runs this business. My mission, if you want to call it, is to create EAs that I use to become profitable, but also to share my experience and knowledge with my clients in a community.
What grabbed my attention the first time my team shared with me the demo results from the Gold Reaper and the other EAs is that they were not using grid Martingale. And then when I investigated further, I saw that actually you're not using grid Martingale in any of portfolios. So how do you succeed in building so many different EAs without putting any grid or Martingale?
Well, as any trader that starts out, I think I probably used a bit of grid and Martingale in my early years. But after a few accounts blowing up, you start to see that it's maybe not the best way to go in trading. So you try to find different strategies. After a while, I found that simple strategies is something that fitted me, something that you can easily understand, something that is easy to code as well. And then after many years of trial and error, I found a few strategies that seem to work well. Since then, I've been building on those and fine-tuning them. And most of my systems are basically built on a very simple idea of breakout strategies.
That's interesting to know. And it's actually probably from your side, it's easy to build nowadays. But from our side, as a company where we are testing so many different EAs, recently became kind of accounting between how much we make and how much we lose every month from blown accounts. And just actually today we are publishing a video where we show the recent 4 accounts that were blown, and I'm still okay with that because, you know, we make more, but I'm afraid that, you know, in the next months or in next year it could be more blown accounts compared to what we made from all of these great Martingale systems. And quite often subscribers ask me, hey Petko, why don't you just trade, you know, scalping and breakout systems? And I said, you know, because there are not too many. We've found just a few. Most of it is grid Martingale, and I'm very happy that you've built so many, and I'm really looking forward to the results from the other EAs. And before we show some of the results that you have, can you tell me what was the first EA you started on MQL5? Because my team told me that within the first 5 months of publishing your first algorithm on MQL, you became a top seller. So what was that first EA that kicked off?
Well, the first EA, as far as I remember, that I sold on MQL5 was called Pip Speed. And it was basically a volatility breakout system. Now, the funny story about this EA is that the idea of the EA, I was still struggling with finding something that was profitable, even in backtest. And this idea of this, for this EA, the volatility breakout system, came one night in a dream.
Oh, really?
I woke up in the middle of the night around 3 a.m. in the morning, and I had an idea about if price moves fast in one direction, the probability of it continuing in that direction is bigger than it reversing immediately. So basically, a moving train is harder to stop and reverse than just keep moving a little bit. So I just wrote down the paper or my phone, I don't remember. And the next morning, I started coding it as an obsessed man. And then the same day, I was able to backtest it already. And the results were very promising. It was very stable for a long period of time in the backtest. I started running it live. It ran live as well, very decently for 2 years or something. And since I was very low on capital at the time, I decided to offer it as a product on MQL5 for selling. And MQL5 was much smaller at that time, but it sold very well. It was very popular at the time.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And recently, I start to feel this obsession as well. What you say, wake up in the middle of the night, and the first thing in the morning when you wake up, just so many things come through your head that I can't sleep well, to be honest, just because we've been doing so much. And when I wake up, it's, you know, so many things that come as an idea. Sometimes they're great, of course, sometimes not. But I see with the more people I speak, the more I see that those who are really obsessed in what they do well. So, you know, find time to rest, but obsession helps. And you said you build EAs primarily for yourself first and selling them in secondary. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, I didn't start out in the Forex industry thinking, this might be a good place to sell things. I started out because I wanted to create an algorithm that would make my money grow over time. Okay. Of course, when you start creating algorithms and you start doing the backtesting, you see the growth curve, like very exponential. Everyone imagines how $100 can become $1 million in a short period of time. Yeah. So this idea of creating something that can exponentially grow your account, your money. I said, this feeling is still there. So every time I start building a new system, it still starts with this, how do you say, this edge, this feeling that you want to create something that does really well on your own accounts. And also I couldn't sell something to others that I don't believe in myself. So I wouldn't be selling something that I say, this is maybe not so good, but I could sell it. So everything that I built, first I want to use it myself. So it has to be something that I trust myself. So always first thing I build something is, will I use this on my own account or not? And then maybe afterwards I would sell it.
Absolutely. I agree and I appreciate that. And that's exactly what we are doing in Algo Trading space as well, to test on our live accounts every EA before we show it in the videos and before we make a review to make sure it's, you know, it's robust and profitable. And of course, we can't guarantee that because even it's been profitable for a year, especially the grid martingales, they can always blow no matter what we do to test it initially. But I really appreciate that you're trading it live yourself, because not all of the vendors are trading their EAs and they're still selling EAs or just on demo.
Oh, very small accounts. Yeah. The number of $100 accounts being shown as proof
And before the podcast, you've shared that you have a client who built a very small account into nearly a 6-figure account. And I was probably going to ask you to give me more details about it, how he did it, but I think we better not do it because I know that many of the subscribers will try to do it and it's still risky. But I want to point out that your type of EAs, these breakouts that do not use grid Martingale, are actually the only type of EAs that are suitable for scaling, right? Because you can really start a small $1,000 account or even 500, trade the minimum lot and grow the account because you don't have this risk of the grid Martingale. And one last thing I want to ask you before we show some results of your EAs. You shared that the first time you started, you were Googling how to make money online. So can you walk me through that? What happened after that?
Well, basically, I was probably around 18 or 20 years old, and I was trying to find a way out of the rat race because the idea of having to work from 20 till 65, waiting for a pension, was not really something that attracted me a lot. So I started looking things online, like how to make money online, how to become rich fast. The basic things that people do when they want to escape the normal life. And one of the Google results that came up was trading, Forex trading. So started clicking. I think I started with futures trading in the beginning.
Did you start manual trading?
Yes, I started with some manual trading because I was IT as a background, but I was not thinking even about coding the trading things.
All right.
I started a bit of manual trading. After ups and downs, I fell into the algo trading because of my IT background. And also I noticed that emotions are a very big part of being successful in trading, and the manual trading wasn't going like I expected it to go. So that's how I rolled into the algo trading.
And at what point did you know you could quit your day job and do this full time?
Well, that took some time. In between starting the Forex trading and actually being able to quit my job was about 15 years or maybe a bit less. And I didn't know actually that I was going to be able to make money from it before I quit my job. So I quit my job because I wanted to push myself to go all in on this idea of creating profitable robots. So I basically moved back in with my mother just to save on the cost, on the spendings per month, so I could focus 100% on this trading thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been through a very hard time quitting my job. And now when people ask me, should I quit my job after they make the first profits, I usually say no. Because for me, at least, people should make 2 to 3 times more than their salary before they quit comfortably their job. And it's really a personal choice. And all of this hype on YouTube and everywhere with the expensive cars and mansions, they build this expectation that trading is easy, but it's not easy. And algo trading is not easy as well. It's even the fact that it took me over 10 years to find EAs like yours. It's just hard to find EAs like yours. It's hard to find not risky stuff. So not to make the subscribers wait longer, I want to dive into the Gold Reaper because this is the account, like I said, where I trusted for the first time to start a 10K. So after the initial demo test, we saw with the team that it doesn't use a grid or Martingale. And then the EA was added to easy algos. So we started a 5K IC market account and we already made $2,000 of withdrawal. Yep. And just last week, I decided to add another 5K into the account because simply I don't see the risk. Of course, there is always a risk, like we say, but I don't see the risk that the grid Martingale systems have. Can you tell me what is the risk when trading the Gold Reaper?
Well, the Gold Reaper is a breakout system that trades breakouts, but each trade has a stop loss and a take profit and trailing stop loss and everything. So the risk is, of course, you can have fake breakouts. So if the price does the breakout, but it reverses immediately, stop loss gets hit, it's a loss. So if that happens a lot, you can go into drawdown, like balance drawdown, not equity drawdown.
Right.
if this cycle or this period of bad breakouts is a few days or weeks, this drawdown can become bigger. So that is the risk with real strategies, that you can have losses, where Martingale and Grid try to avoid a loss. The thing is, you cannot avoid loss in trading, so eventually the loss comes. And with Martingale and Grid, it's a big loss in the end, sometimes blowing the whole account. While with a real trading strategy like Gold Reaper, it's like consecutive smaller losses that could end up in a bigger drawdown if worst case scenarios would happen.
Okay, and I will just show the live account I have with IC. And what I noticed is that after I added another 5K into the account, I reattached the EA over the chart, and the lots were accordingly calculated in the new pending orders. But what I wanted you to confirm and to ask you, the Gold Reaper is a breakout strategy on a different time frames, because I see pending orders not just below or above the very recent highs or lows, but as well support and resistances that happened much earlier this year. So is it only price action that is going on, or these are strategies on different time frames?
It's basically the same strategy, because Gold Reaper has up to 9 strategies that can be enabled or disabled. The EA automatically chooses which strategies to run based on your account size and your risk settings. For example, strategy 1 to 3 runs on daily candles. So it looks only at the daily chart, basically looking for support and resistance levels on that time frame.
Okay.
Strategy 4 is on H4, and the other strategies all run on H1 time frame. So they will do more trades, because on that time frame you have more support and resistance levels coming by.
Does it matter what time frame we select on the chart?
Yeah, so that's hard-coded internally. Every strategy is hard-coded that it runs automatically on the correct time frame internally.
So it's okay to keep it on H1?
You can keep it on H1. That's how I run it. But if you run it on daily, it should do exactly the same trades. So it's
okay. And then the first emails that we exchanged with you a couple of months ago, I remember that you suggested that I change the trade frequency to moderate. So strategy number 8 and 9 will not be included. Can you tell me a little bit more about those two strategies?
Yes. Well, moderate is okay if your account is at least 2K or more, because it will enable 7 strategies. So on a 500 account, I wouldn't recommend running on moderate.
Which trade frequency is suitable for a small account?
Well, there is an auto trade frequency, and then the EA will automatically select the best trade frequency for your account size.
Okay.
But to give you an example, on $500, $600 accounts, I would run on very conservative, up to 1,000 conservative, and from 1,500 on moderate, or best even a bit higher. But because, of course, on more strategies you run, the bigger the potential drawdown can be, even on the minimum lot size. So that is why on small accounts, it's best to run fewer strategies, basically.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And then these strategies 8 and 9, especially strategy number 9, is a very aggressive, high-frequency trading strategy. Some clients like it because they like to see a lot of trades.
Yeah.
But the risk-reward, if you look at it, like how much growth is it compared to the potential drawdown, is not so good for these two. So I prefer the moderate as the best all-around, best risk-reward setup from any account above 2,000, basically.
And are the strategies in the Gold Reaper participating equally on the market? Are some of them more active? Because if they are, for example, 1 to 3, if they are looking at the daily candlesticks, I assume they are not that active as the rest. Is that correct?
That is true.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I made all strategies balanced inside the EA. So that means that even though some strategies will trade less and they will have lower drawdown at the same lot size, that is why the lot sizes are different for each strategy.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I see the first 3 are actually with bigger lots, because I remember at the beginning, because we usually backtest always with 0.01, and we adjusted ourselves the lots so that we trade equal lot on every strategy. And I remember I asked you on the email and you said that we better keep it the way it's programmed. So now it makes sense why that is and why they shouldn't be equal.
Number 4 to 8 or to 7 will have much more weight in the overall performance, and strategies 1 to 3 almost are neglectable. So it's better to balance them correctly so that each strategy has as much weight to the performance as they should have.
That makes absolute sense for me. And you've built over 27 EAs and never used Martingale, or at least the ones you are selling on your website. Why is that such a hard line for you? Why you want to avoid the Martingale 100%?
I do have some grids that I developed just to see if I could do it and to see if I could do it better. But honestly, with grid and Martingale, for me, the question is always not will it blow up, but when will it blow up? I haven't seen any Martingale or grid that didn't blow up eventually. Some after 5 years, some after 3 months. And I just don't feel like you don't want to have 5 years of nice profits and then see everything gone in a week time. That is not how I approach trading. I think there is a place for grid and Martingale with traders that manage it manually, like that really follow up on the grids and they say, okay, this price action on the daily chart or weekly chart, this is going the wrong way. So I have to take this loss, even on the grid or Martingale, and accept that there should be some losses from time. I think it can work, but you have to be able to take a loss and sometimes a big loss and not let it just go all the way till it clears the account.
Yeah, we've made such conclusions in the last video for the blown accounts, and I agree with you, but that's only for the very experienced traders, because if beginners start to close trades manually, emotions will come in, and people should really have their plan when to close exactly floating losses. That's why at the beginning I said that systems like Gold Reaper are suitable for scaling and grid martingales are not. So usually we draw profits regularly from the grid martingale systems to make sure we cover the initial deposit before it's too late. And quite often when my team tells me this grid EA is very stable, I always correct them. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time when it will blow, and I expect any of them. I've personally, how I approach grid martingale systems, because you might be wondering, like many of the subscribers, why I'm trading so many grid martingales is when I start them, I accept the risk and I'm ready to lose this money, right? For the testing purposes, for the purpose of the videos to review and to analyze them, I accept the risk that I can lose this, and if they blow, I'm totally fine with that. But they are much riskier, obviously, and people should be aware of that, and I'll keep repeating in the videos because it's important. And now you have the gold bundle on your website, which is a combination between 4 of the best gold EAs, I believe. Gold Reaper is on the first spot. Gold Trade Pro. We already trade the Gold Trade Pro on $1,000 live account, and it looks very similar. The same panel I can see, but I see 8 strategies in here. Can you tell me what's the difference between these two?
Yeah, so actually Gold Trade Pro was the first gold EA I developed because breakout strategies overall tend to work better on daily charts. So Gold Trade Pro only trades on daily charts. So basically it's the same type of strategies: breakout, support and resistance, stop loss, take profit. It's 8 completely different strategies than the ones used in Gold Reaper. So after Gold Trade Pro, and I saw that it was performing very well, I thought I can do more with this type of strategies. So I created the Gold Reaper. Together, there is some correlation, but not as much as you would think. So to me, it's better to run the 2 of them than just one.
That's why you've put the bundle together.
That is why I put the bundle together, because running these 4 will have a smoother performance. Because, you also do a lot of portfolios. So the more EAs you put in a portfolio, the more smooth the overall performance tends to become. Because when one EA is doing well, the other one might be doing a bit less. So they even each other out a bit. And it's the same with these 4 gold EAs. They all use a bit different approaches to the same type of strategy, but they all have their own shape of a growth curve. So if you then put them together in one portfolio, it becomes a much smoother curve overall.
That makes sense. And if I understand everything until the moment correctly, does that mean that the Gold Trade Pro is less riskier because it's looking only at the daily candles, or it's less active?
It's less active, has a bit more long stagnation and then very big jumps up, which is nice when it happens. Because for example, last year, that's why Gold Reaper is more popular, because it's a bit more smooth going up. But Gold Trade Pro can have bigger jumps up. So last year it did like 10 months or 11 months of stagnation, where a lot of clients, of course, thought, is this still normal? And then it did extremely well in a few months. It went up 70% in 3 months' time or something. So that is more a different characteristic of Gold Trade Pro, while Gold Reaper is a bit more balanced going up. But I like both, to be honest. And Gold Trade Pro has been running with me for over 2 years, and it has not disappointed me yet, especially since I know that these 2 years are completely out of sample and still running the exact same strategy that I developed 2 years ago. So nothing changed. It had the best period so far in the last 6 months, I think, compared even to the optimized backtest results. So
okay. And in my case, where I have the Gold Reaper now in the 10K account, because simply I'm happy with the performance until the moment, and I see 8% monthly without Grid Martingale. But at the same time, I have now the Gold Trade Pro. If I look for it on a $1,000 live account, it's a new account, started in May. It made like 1%. So based on your experience with these two systems, is it better to have them on an equal balance? Because now I have the Gold Reaper on 10K, the Gold Trade Pro on a 1K account, which is 10 times less than that. Is it better to trade them on an equal basis?
To my experience, yes. Maybe a little bit more weight to Gold Reaper, but not much, because that Gold Reaper was not so stable in growth. And then Gold Trade Pro did very well. And I think if I look at the actual growth performance, Gold Reaper doesn't underperform compared to Gold Reaper if you look at a yearly performance.
Okay, so I will either have to move some of the funds from the Gold Reaper, or I will have to deposit 10K in the Gold Trade Pro, and my wife wouldn't be happy with it because I keep depositing a lot of money, to be honest. Let me have a quick look at your Gold Reaper performance on my FX book, and I'll share my screen with you so you can see it as well. I remember I asked you why you don't have the live updates, and you said you don't need it because it's not a Grid Martingale. Because usually I always look at it to see and to know what to expect, because usually the vendors who hide drawdowns with the Grid Martingale systems do not click the live update green, but I see that with your system it's no needed to be done. So this is $1,600 of account, and it's made above $250. You started in October 2024. Is this when the EA was developed, or did you have prior track records?
No, there's not on this my FX book link, which is a bit older, but I think in November 2024 or right before, because that's when I started this, I did some major updates. One of them is where I told about this balanced setup, like every strategy runs with a different lot size. That was added then.
Okay, I can see the live signals on MQL, and the one you're talking about is this one, Gold Reaper live default settings. Okay,
yeah, it's the oldest running.
Okay, so it's that stagnation you were talking about, I assume.
Yeah, that's the drawdown that Gold Reaper had. But I made some improvements during that stagnation where I made the strategies balanced, that every strategy runs at its own lot size.
Okay.
Because before that, it wasn't as balanced as it should be. So the aggressive strategies were having too much weight, and their drawdown too much of the balance in that period.
Okay.
It was a good lesson for clients, to be honest, because one of the things I try to teach my clients is that drawdowns need to be evaluated. And many people, they stop trading during a drawdown period, like a normal drawdown period. And then they wait when the EA recovers, and then they start again. And I say it's a bit like buying high and selling low on a stock.
Absolutely.
The growth chart is a bit like a stock price. If it goes down, it's a better point of entry, basically. And you don't sell when it's down and buy when it's low. I mean, you don't stop in EA when it's down, when it's normally down. Of course, you have to evaluate if it's still normal. But when it goes down, it's part of trading. You keep it, and then...
I often have this conversation with my team and some of the traders and the VIP members in Discord when they tell me a EA is in a drawdown, and I say if it is in the acceptable drawdown below the worst we've seen from the backtest or the live performance, then it's the best time to start trading it now, because otherwise, as you say, it's like you buy Bitcoin in 100K and you wait to sell it in 60K. That's the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you personally decide when a drawdown is normal versus when a strategy is actually broken? When is your threshold of binning this?
Yeah. Well, first, you know how to decently do backtests on an EA. So you have to know what is the worst case scenario in the past, in the last 20 years or so. So you try to take a long period of backtesting and you mark basically the worst that happened in that period. Then you evaluate your live performance with backtests, not only if it's in line, so if the growth curve looks a bit the same, but also you see if the live results match the backtest of the same period.
Yeah.
Then during a drawdown, you start analyzing like, okay, this drawdown, is this the worst that ever happened? Or is it still like not even close to the historical one? As long as it's not even close, you don't do anything. If it's getting close to the historical worst drawdown, you start analyzing a bit more in detail. Like, for example, I would start checking every different strategy has its own growth curve, and every different strategy has its own maximum drawdown. And I will check, is one of the strategies exceeding its own individual historical maximum drawdown. And that way, if I see, okay, if it exceeds, I still don't stop it, because I assume the maximum drawdown in the future might exceed the historical drawdown, because there's no way that you can be 100% sure that the worst happened in the past and will never be exceeded in the future.
Absolutely.
So I try to see, is the market really changed? Like gold markets, I don't think. A good test was basically the last year, because gold went from 2,500 to 5,000.
Yeah.
So it doubled in price, and also every move of gold, I mean, the average move daily is much bigger now than a year ago. So if, for example, the EA would start performing now, it would stop performing now, it could have been because of the price of gold changed so much. But since it's still performing well, and I built into the EA that it adjusts itself to the price of gold.
That was my next question.
So it still has to be tested live. So now that I see that, okay, gold rose a lot and the EA adjusted well, it's still trading very well. So I know, okay, this part of the EA seems to be working quite well.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And when you say for the last 20 years, are you backtesting for the last 20 years the strategies, or what's the period you're taking as a historical data when you're building the strategies?
Well, I believe a lot in and out of sample testing when you create strategies. So for example, for Gold Reaper and the other gold bots as well, I used 2012 to 2023 as development period. So I use this period for creating strategies, optimizing them, and then I check out of sample like 2004 till 2012 and 2023 till now to see how it performs compared with the in sample. And especially for gold and my gold EAs, it's basically the same. Even if I do like smaller periods of optimization with this breakout strategy, the out of sample always is very much in line with the in sample that I used for optimizations. And so far the live results, which is of course fully out of sample, are also very much in line with the long-term backtest, which is for me one of the best ways to evaluate if an EA has a chance of being profitable in the future. How does it perform out of the optimization periods? And one of the reasons why I don't really use a lot of other EAs is because many of them, they fail in the out of sample. They do perfectly well 2022, 2026, but before that, it's basically the other way around. The curve looks like the inverted growth. Or they hide part of history in backtesting. Like when you cannot test before 2020, for me, it's a sign probably it wasn't good. So they hid it from the backtest.
Yeah, I completely hear you. It's something very similar we are doing with my team for every EA. But the fact that we don't know the core of the EA sometimes makes it really, really hard. While when you are developing them yourself, you know way better how to backtest out of sample and everything.
It is much easier to run an EA live that you created yourself because you know exactly what's going on. You know there were no manipulations inside. So you trust your own work much better than someone else's work. That's I think it's
just one sentence more about the grid martingale strategies, because they're so popular, so many people are using them. How can a grid or martingale system look incredible on a backtest and still blow up a live account? Can you try to explain it with simple words for the beginners who are listening?
Well, first of all, like any EA, it's been optimized for historical results. So basically the developer is making a system and then it's running tests with different parameters. And then it says, with this parameters, it blew up in 2020. So it changes a bit. And then I didn't blow up 2020, but it blew up in 2023. It changed a bit until it finds the right set of parameters that it doesn't blow up in any of the years before current date. But that doesn't mean, because the market is never the same as in the past, that in the future, market might behave or trigger a certain martingale grid opening that will eventually blow up. And there are some developers, of course, that they know it blew up and they hard code the date to be skipped in the backtest. Happens a lot, sadly, as well.
I agree with that. So guys, if you agree with what just Wim said and what we are discussing, and if you want to support me in talking to more professional developers like Wim, make sure to double check if you have subscribed, because our analytics shows that most of you watching our videos just miss to subscribe. The YouTube algorithm pushes the video on your home screen, you watch it, but you didn't subscribe. Please double check. It's a one-time free action and it means the world to us. So thank you very much for that. Wim, I really wanted to go through your portfolios because you share the very same ideas that we share recently in Algo Trading space, that it's better to trade multiple EAs into one account rather than separating them individually, just because, especially with the gold scalpers or the non-greedy EAs, usually we always have the margin, right? Because they go in and out quickly, and most of the time the balance is hanging there and we can just use it for other strategies. And I saw on your website that you have the portfolios on the bottom, and some of these are very promising. But before jumping into the portfolios, I want to ask you about the ultimate breakout system. Can you tell me a few words about it and what's the idea?
So basically, the ultimate breakout system is the father or the mother, if you want, of all the breakout EAs that I made. So of course, to create systems, you need an open system. To make an EA like Gold Reaper, you need an open system where you can set all the parameters, like the entry criteria, where do you want to put the support and resistance levels, where do you want to put the stop loss, when does the trailing stop needs to start and to stop, which distance. All these things can be configured with the ultimate breakout system. So it basically is an open system with a lot of parameters that you can set and optimize. And I use it to create all the strategies that I use in my Gold Reaper, Gold Trade Pro, DayTrade Pro, all the breakout systems that I published.
So it's more for the people who want to twist and modify or build new breakout systems.
Yes, for one, and also for those that want to have unique trading systems. For example, some people like to run on prop firms, and one of the things that prop firms ban people for is for copy trading, so having the same strategy as someone else. So by creating your own strategies, you can have very unique strategies that no one is using, and that way have more chance of succeeding. Also, there is basically no, when strategies stop working for a certain EA, that's it, unless the developer makes a new one. But with the ultimate breakout system, you can always yourself just create new ones, new markets, new time frames. So it's like a big package to do it yourself.
I see what you mean. This sounds really big, and I think we can make a separate podcast or a video just about it. I'll definitely find the time to play with it. And once you have it on your website, we can also demonstrate how it works. But I really wanted to go through the portfolios because, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are the setups for people who just want to set and leave it, right? Because usually our subscribers are looking for such setups. So we have 5 portfolio setups. The first one is with the Gold Reaper, Luna AI, and Gold Trade Pro. Is that a live account that is running these EAs?
Yes. I don't run demo accounts, to be honest.
And it makes 7% average a month.
So far, yes.
Does it have lower risk on each EA?
Yeah, so when I run portfolios, one of the things that I think is important is that you don't just run each EA with full-on risk that you normally run it on individual accounts. So you balance the EAs so that the risk is a bit spread, which I did, which I have the set files for as well, so that you don't blow the account by over-leveraging each EA.
All right, so if I get all of your EAs from the bundle, do I receive as well set files to replicate these portfolios?
Yes, if requested, I have all the set files and setups for these portfolios ready to go already. Because I know some clients would like to start with something like this.
Oh yeah, I know. Our VIP Discord members always ask for the set files. And it's understandable because it's just easy and people expect that we or you as a developer know the best settings and they will trust more in your experience rather they try to prepare set files for them. And in Portfolio 2, I see that you have 4 EAs. Portfolio 3 comes with more EAs. Setup D is with 4 EAs. Setup E is with many EAs.
A lot of EAs.
A lot of EAs, but it keeps very low drawdown. So I do assume that the risk is much smaller on each EA. What is the minimum deposit if people want to replicate these portfolios?
Well, it depends a bit on which portfolio, how many EAs you run, which EAs you run. But I would say for most portfolios, you can start at 3,000. If you use, for example, Gold Reaper, Luna AI, and DayTrade Pro, it could run on 2,000 because they're very uncorrelated EAs. I wouldn't run 2 gold EAs on a 2,000 account. That might be a bit higher risk. But if you use one gold EA and then some other that are completely uncorrelated, then you can basically use the same balance that you would use for one, but just spread the risk over multiple EAs. I mean, you can see it limits the risk. It keeps the same risk as running one, but it exponentially increases the growth, the potential growth of the setup.
Yeah, some of those are still on our demo accounts, and we were going to check them out this month in July and put on individual live accounts. But now when I see that you also create portfolios, because at Algo Trading space, we're trying to build these premium portfolios and we've built them successfully until the moment where we are putting the best of the best EAs that we tested, but many of those unfortunately are with Martingale systems. And I personally called the Gold Reaper to be a portfolio because it's a portfolio for me since it trades multiple strategies inside, right? But now the idea goes beyond that it could be Gold Reaper, part of a portfolio.
Portfolio of portfolios.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll definitely put it in our to-do list with priority to check your portfolios, to compare with our demo and live results. And I'll be happy to set up a new portfolio. Or if you have actually an idea of another portfolio, I'm more than happy to test with you on live accounts. If you want to set up a 6th or 7th portfolio.
Well, I run about almost 40 accounts. I think most of them portfolios. Yeah. Spread over 15 VPSs. So for me, diversification is the most important, not just EAs, but also portfolios,
Absolutely.
Brokers. Like many things, I like to diversify the same EAs, but with different risk settings on different accounts. And this gives, for me, the best overall growth of the trade accounts.
I agree. And out of these 5, to try to simplify it for a beginner who would like to take your bundle and to run a portfolio, which one is the best according to you? To put it in another way, if you had to trade only one of them, which one would it be?
You have to go over them one by one again so I can see what is running on that. This one would be a good one. I think probably the one with DayTrade Pro in there as well. I think setup B, because I know the names, how they are, Carl. This one, I think, is probably a very good one because it's very diversified. Or this one without a Gold Trade Pro might be for beginners because then you have 3 EAs. You don't need the big balance to run them.
All of them look really interesting to me. We'll really have to look into it further.
Many clients would look at the growth curve and say, oh, this goes up and down a lot. But I am very, allergic to growth curves that look like a straight line because I don't trust straight lines.
When we see straight lines, we have this joke in the team that some from Australia came up with it. It says, when you see a straight line, it's just screaming to blow. It's either over-optimized, it's either a grid of Martingale. It's not okay. It's not okay. I'm very surprised, to be honest with you, what I see now. And I regret a little bit that we didn't see these portfolios earlier because they will just save us a lot of time to build portfolios from your EAs. I'm happy to see that you already have portfolios. So we might replicate 1 or 2 or even build a new one, as I said. And here on the side, you have the individual results, right? These are the track records from each expert advisor. I know there will be a lot of comments about which EA is most suitable for a small trading account, according to you. So we can answer that because Always people ask about that.
Well, it depends on what you call a small account.
Anything below $1,000, let's say.
I would still say Gold Reaper probably, because it can run on less than 1,000, but it's going to be conservative. So it means it will not trade a lot. It's probably going to run on daily chart. So expect maybe around 10 trades a month. If you want more trades, Luna AI is more active and can run on anything like $200 because it's a night scalper. So it's a completely different trading style, but it's not as scalable because scalping on bigger accounts, bigger lot size leads to bigger slippage. And then the performance starts dropping probably.
Can you explain what the night scalping is with simple words?
Yeah, very simple. There's one period during the night, our night, that the market are very quiet and basically just range a little bit, called a pre-Asian session. And you can basically scalp these ranges. So typically a night scalper takes small profits and has a quite big stop loss because the spread goes up during the night. So it has to be able to withstand these spread widenings. And typically a night scalp has a very high hit rate. I have to say that the live account that you see here, it's not the recommended setup in the early years. But I personally like adding this one to many portfolio accounts because it's been profitable for me I think this one is already running 4 years or something. And I haven't changed anything about it except maybe a bit more selective in which pairs I want to run. It only runs 4 now. It started with like 13.
Which pairs is it trading now?
Euro out, pound out, out cut, and out USD.
Okay, and what I see is that it's suitable for portfolios actually because it's usually trading while the others are not, right?
It's completely different strategy, so it will not be correlated with gold EAs or with breakout strategies at all.
And I wanted to ask you about one more EA, the DayTrade Pro Algo, because I'm familiar now with the other three, but the DayTrade Pro Algo, can you tell me more about that EA?
Yes, it's basically the same type of strategies as the gold EAs, but then for Forex pairs. So it runs on 13 Forex pairs, of which one is still gold. So it runs one strategy on gold as well, but it runs on euro dollar, pound dollar, etc. It's stable long term, but it's not as explosive in growth as the gold EAs because gold is fine. It's just better for breakout strategies than the Forex pairs. But still, I like to add it to different portfolios. I don't really run it on individual accounts, more as addition to portfolio accounts because it adds to the diversification and adds to the long-term stability of the accounts.
We'll definitely have a look at these portfolios because it's something that I'm obsessed recently about to build more and more portfolios rather than individual accounts. And if your EAs are not grid Martingale, I assume people can also combine them with other EAs if they want to, because they will not use a lot of the margin most of the time. But at the end, let's give a few practical takeaways for the people who stay with us until the end. If someone's about to buy an EA today, what's the one question they should ask the developer to check if something is hidden? For example, if it uses a Martingale. What do you see from your experience with the traders purchasing your EAs?
Well, the tips that I give my clients, well, not to ask the developer, but to know what to look for in backtest and in the live results. For example, I can very quickly see, based just on the shape of the growth chart and also on the closing times of trades, if it's a grid or martingale. You can easily see if 3 or more trades close at the same time, but with different lot sizes, and one of them is a loss, it's usually a grid or martingale. If the growth curve is straight, it's usually grid or martingale or a very huge stop loss. Always try doing your own back tests to know that the vendor didn't just pick pinpoint the perfect backtest sample. Try to do out of sample, maybe even other markets. But one of the most important things I think is just to know how to backtest and know what to look for in the actual trading itself.
Actually, I can immediately show exactly what you shared as the first sign. And that's exactly what we are looking at every time we test a new EA. And that's why the results are public on our website. So for example, if I go to the Gold Reaper on the closed trades in the terminal, if you look at the close time, you will not see consecutive trades closing at the same time with increased lot or different lot, because simply the Gold Reaper doesn't use grid Martingale, and that's how I usually quickly spot if it's a grid Martingale. And the second thing you said, a very smooth graph. To avoid withdrawals, people should just click on growth rate and they will see how it goes. And that's actually the second deposit here at the end. but we will leave this portfolio public on the website so people can always track how it's performing. Okay, and how many uncorrelated EAs is enough for a healthy portfolio? Where is your golden middle? Personally, I feel comfortable when I put 3 EAs in one portfolio. What's your preference here?
I usually go for 4 or 5, but I would say 3 is already like a nice diversified portfolio.
Yeah, but because you don't use grid martingale systems. Now, I go with 3 because usually 2 of them are grid martingales, right? So it becomes risky enough. But I see now when you put together EAs without grids, you can go 4 to 5. Yeah, and what's the realistic monthly return? That's a huge question. What's the realistic monthly return someone should actually expect if they are being honest with themselves?
Yes. I have a rule that I usually apply to calculating, and it is what are you comfortable with for risk? For example, let's say you are comfortable with 30% total loss if the worst case scenario would happen. Then the yearly return would be about 3 times, maximum 4 times that amount. So if you are comfortable with 30% maximum drawdown, the yearly return can be around 100%. No guarantees, of course, but I mean, from what I've seen, what is possible, it is possible. It's not going to be every year the same, of course. So it can be one year maybe 30% growth, another year might be 200% growth. But that is my rule that I apply. I first choose the risk, and then I aim for about 3 times that percentage in yearly growth.
Okay.
It would be around 7 to 10% a month. Is possible with the correct portfolio setup.
Okay.
The portfolio, the better the risk reward becomes, of course.
Yeah. I'm happy to see 7-8% with the Gold Reaper, to be honest. And max floating loss has been less than that, which we don't see usually. And I'm ready to see bigger drawdowns, as you said, where drawdowns can happen again, or it could be that it's actually more, because always the market surprises us.
So when it's ranging, there will be more drawdown with breakout systems. When it's trending, there's more growth. So usually when you see a very long period of straight up performance, I expect a drawdown period to be coming. When you see a long drawdown period, I expect a nice recovery coming. So you have to be in touch with how the markets change as well.
Yeah.
But still, you have to keep it running.
Yeah, absolutely. We should be expecting everything. And quite often I hear people saying the market went in the wrong direction or the opposite. So if they went long, the market went in the wrong direction. I always say the market goes always in the right direction. And the price is where it should be. And that's probably the one thing I remember from my bachelor degree on finance. They taught us that the price is where the buyers meet the sellers, and that's it. So there is nothing wrong. Everything is right. Just people fall in love with their trades. If they go long, especially the manual traders, they do believe it will go long, and everything on the opposite is wrong. They're just wrong. It's not the market wrong. Okay, Wim, as much as I don't like to end up this podcast, tell me, where should people go to find your EAs and follow what you're building?
Well, there are a couple places. My individual EAs are sold on MQL5.com, but the big bundles and the nice bundles, like the gold bundle, are sold only on my website, forexeasolutions.com.
Okay.
And some of my EAs are also available on easyalgos.ai. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'll follow you on your website because I'm just so disappointed, I can say, from the MQL5 marketplace because they just onboard everyone. And they don't have a nice or a logical filter. And it's very hard for me, for my team, and for everybody, especially beginners, really to extract the good EAs from MQL. And usually people just spend so much money on buying EAs based on unrealistic reviews and expectations and fake signals, etc. But that's my personal experience, maybe because we've been trying to buy and get as many EAs as possible to test. Even though we know it's impossible to test all the EAs around the world, but we do our best. I personally prefer the people who build their own websites. First, because it looks more professional. Secondly, you know that you will get support with priority from the vendor. So I will be definitely monitoring especially your portfolios that you have on the website, because the track records you've put together is very similar to what we've been doing in Algo Trading space, putting together the best EAs, and you've put together your best EAs, which is a huge proof of performance, and I'll be very happy to replicate some of those portfolios, to be honest. So thank you very much one more time for joining the podcast, Wim. I hope it's not gonna be the last one, and I hope the next one we will do live. I'll be happy if you come to Bulgaria or I come to Malta and discuss algo trading together.
All right, thank you for having me. This was quite fun.
I wish you a great day ahead and good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.